Hi guys, Wetbrand here today, and I feel like I'm just gonna go on what probably is gonna be a rant. I just kind of want to talk about my experience and how things have changed for me, because I think that, especially when it comes to like making commentary, which is a very popular thing happening in the DBD community lately. A lot more channels have been switching over to doing more commentary content, and I think it's something that my experience with like going to play 50/50 has kind of like really messed with that, and I really want to talk about like why that is and kind of this like weird community aspect to it that makes kind of like making commentary difficult when it comes to like this whole playing both sides pretty evenly sort of thing. So if you didn't know, and especially if you didn't watch yesterday's video where I talked about it before the match that I played, I've been playing 50/50 lately. If you're on my Twitch streams, you already know that I do Survivor on Tuesday and Friday, and then I do Killer on Monday and Wednesday. So I'm playing both sides pretty evenly, and that, you know, probably comes maybe as a surprise to those of you who've been with the channel for a long time, because you're used to me being primarily a killer main, which is, I used to say I always played 70/30. But over time, I've played more and more Survivor, just because that's the one I can play with my friends. that's literally like the long and short of it, is just like that's the one I can play with my friends. So I prefer playing with my friends a lot of the time, and I also still love Killer a lot for the same reasons that I've always liked Killer a lot. It's just now I just want to play a little bit more Survivor so I can actually, you know, hang out with my friends and spend time with my friends. But it's actually been like really hard to like come up with commentary videos lately. I've been trying to like think about like why that is. I'm like, why am I in this position where like it's kind of hard to come up with topics? Why is it kind of hard to figure out what to talk about? And I realized that like looking back at like my old catalog, like looking back at a lot of the videos that I've made in the past, a lot of my commentary videos are kind of really sourced in a very like harsh criticism or very like intense debate with one side or the other. And I feel like when I get in this position, when I get in this zone of like I'm playing 50/50, I'm actually like seeing more of what each side complains about pretty evenly. So it makes it like harder to look at one side, whether that be Survivor or Killer, and say, well, all killers are dumb and entitled and they need to get on the boat with this, or all survivors are stupid and entitled and they need to get on the boat with this. Because honestly, that's what kind of sells, to be honest, when it comes to like commentary, is like picking one of three things. It's one of three things. You pick one of three things. You pick behavior, you pick killers, or you pick survivors. And then you just like go on a rant about how they're terrible, they don't know what they're doing, and everything's awful with that side. I don't know how they could be so belligerent and stupid. And then the views go up, you get the likes, you get all that stuff, right? And I feel like that, you know, if you look at other like channels that do commentary, that's kind of like the formula they use, is they, you know, take one side, kind of favor it very heavily, and take a stance with or against it. And then they just like rant and, you know, basically bury that side. Some channels like to do a little bit of both. They like to just kind of like flip-flop. Sometimes they'll be like, all killer mains need to get on the boat here and they suck. And then they'll flip-flop in the next video. They'll be like, all survivors are dumb for this reason too. But essentially the root of a lot of like commentary, you know, channels is, like I said, hating a specific group in that game, whether it be the devs or the killer side or the survivor side. But I've been playing both sides pretty evenly, and I just kind of understand more the frustrations and distresses that each side has, and I think both of them have a lot of validity to them. And I think that makes it really hard for me to like take a hard, like angry stance and like rant about a side or be mean to a side, because it's like I'm playing both, and I see it when I get a group that comes in with like, you know, 3-man prove and or like tibble boxes, and I get frustrated, you know, because gen rushing is boring, which is, you know, a normal fine thing. But also, like, I understand that like overcharge, Columbine eruption is also very annoying to face, because, you know, I play it all the time now. So I understand that both are annoying, but like I can't really like make a video saying, oh, all killers are robots and they're terrible because all they know is to run the brainless kick meta. Because, you know, I understand that like if you end up running into, you know, like the group that I talked about, if you run into a 3-man prove group, those 3 perks might be very helpful to you, to like try and combat that group, you know. So like I understand, so I'm not going to make like a whole commentary video talking about like that, because I'm like, well, I kind of understand to some point, and vice versa. You know, somebody brings in prove and a toolbox, I'm not going to necessarily get mad at them, because, you know, with the way that killers often run 3 slowdown and ingest a chase perk as like their most common setup, I understand that you want to be prepared for a sweaty gamer, especially if you're like solo queuing. Especially if you're solo queuing, you want to be prepared for a sweaty killer. You want to be prepared to be able to not just like immediately lose, you know what I'm saying? Like immediately take the L there, and have your perks prepared. So it just makes it like, it makes it difficult for me to like, you know, really chastise any side for doing much of anything, because when I'm playing both sides pretty evenly, I don't have really a bias, and it's more just like, I guess would be understanding. I feel like I just have this like understanding for like the struggles that both sides go through, and there's a lot of validity to a lot of the things that that both sides complain about, and because I play both now, I'm seeing that validity. I'm seeing the you know, the grain of truth, to, you know, go back to that one essay video I made a long time ago. I'm seeing the grain of truth in everything they talk about, so I'm not necessarily taking hard stances. I'm just kind of going, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense, and then I move on with my day. But, you know, as a direct result, I don't feel like making a very angry, like 10-minute rant video about it, you know? And I feel like this is a thing that's kind of like been generally wrong with like the DBD community as a whole for like a really, really long time. It's just kind of like this lack of ability to have that empathy. You don't necessarily even have to like play both sides evenly to have that empathy, but to just think of like, well, what about what they're saying is possibly true? What about what they're saying it like could possibly have some truth to it? Or even if it's like not true, why are they saying the thing they are, and try to like dissect that to see if it has some like, okay, I get why, I may not agree, but I get why you're saying that. And nobody really, I feel like a lot of people don't really have that mechanism when playing Dead by Daylight. A lot of people just kind of want to assume the worst of the other side and are kind of like gung-ho about like at the drop of the hat, just willing to like take up their torches and pitchforks and just immediately go for the other side and condemn them and hate them. And I just don't know. I just can't do that as much anymore. Like, obviously, if I see something, I'll call it how it is, right? Like, I'm not gonna not do that. But like, I just can't do it anymore. Like, I just can't be that like hateful like complainer anymore. Like, I can't be the person that's just like out here saying, you know, one side's terrible, the devs are terrible, killers are terrible. Like, I can't do that. That's just not in me anymore. And I feel like that's not a weird thing. Like, I don't feel that's weird. I feel like it's like weird that everybody else doesn't, you know, put forward that empathy. I feel like it's weird that everybody else is out there not even trying to think of things from the other side, not trying to think of things from what's better for the game health for both sides, for everybody. And it's just solely focusing on their experience and solely focusing on like what they want and kind of, you know, ready to condemn the other side of the drop of the hat. I feel like that's weird. I don't think that's a good thing. That's not a good thing for the community in general. And I feel like, I don't know, I just don't feel like that's good for us in the long run. And I feel like it's kind of like shameful that we have to like go to this extent to, and I don't know, I guess there's a cynical side of it that's like, maybe they don't actually believe that. Maybe it's just like, especially with content creators, you know, conflict farms content. It kind of just does. Conflict farms content, conflict farms views, conflict farms interaction. So maybe it's not entirely, you know, it's not entirely truthful. Maybe it's just there to manipulate and get things. I hope not. You know, it's, you know, I would not want to assume the worst, but you know, to be realistic, some probably do that. Some probably do just kind of like manipulate this conflict for their own benefit, and that does suck. But like, I think one thing that I've always wanted, like with my content, is to not manipulate, and always be as forward as I can be, to be transparent, and to not hide things from my community. So I don't want to ever compromise on like that principle. So it's just, I don't know, it just kind of puts me in a weird spot, because like, you know, I don't really believe in that anymore. I don't really believe in the side versus side thing, and it kind of just makes making some of these videos sometimes kind of difficult, because there's not that negativity, that overwhelming like griping negativity to kind of like, you know, just go to immediately. You know, I actually have to like be creative. Wow, crazy. But yeah, it's just, I don't know, I just kind of want to talk about that, and how like playing 50-50 really just kind of like changed the way I view the game, and also making content. So yeah, and how I feel like the community could stand to be a little bit more empathetic on both sides. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys. Thank you for listening to me. Hopefully this was a good rant. But I do upload daily, so hopefully I will see you tomorrow. But if I don't, I'll see you when I see you. Goodbye.